What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys an advanced football video. So I'll be going through every single game in Week 1 of the NFL and going over which players I think you guys should be starting and sitting in your lineup. So I'll be doing this every single week. It'll come out every single Saturday, as long as I'll be answering any start-sit questions that I maybe haven't gotten to in the comments. So feel free to drop start-sit questions in the comments to this video. I'll get back to you guys, and if you want to drop them throughout the weeks, preceding this, then feel free to do that, and I'll be able to include some of them as like a bit of a mailbag in this video. Another quick note is that tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, so an hour before the first games kick off, I'll be doing like a quick live stream, go over just quick news in terms of injury information, then I'll go over a bit of a mailbag live, start-sit questions and answering and all that. So it should be a lot of fun. It'll be the channel's first ever live stream, and I'll be doing that one every single Sunday morning as well. So it should be a lot of fun, and really just excited for football to start here. So yeah, with that, let's just get into the first game. Starting us off with the Bengals at the Browns. For the Bengals, I think it's pretty clear you're going to be starting Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Mixon. Those guys are all going to be lineup blocks pretty much every single week for you guys. I'd prefer to sit Irv Smith this week and see if how involved he is in this offense, but if you're desperate, I think he is an option. It's a decent matchup, and I'm not too afraid of it. Tyler Boyd's an option in deeper leagues as well, but I wouldn't be super excited about him. On the Browns side of the ball, Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper are going to be must-starts every single week. David Njoku's the top 8 tight end for me this week, so I think you're probably starting him, especially given that you probably didn't draft 2 tight ends if you took Njoku. Elijah Moore and Deshaun Watson are like fringe starting options for me. I don't think I'd like to be starting them in week 1, but if you have to, I think you totally can. Watson's probably like a fringe top 10 quarterback, and then Elijah Moore is going to be a guy that could slot in nicely, but I'd prefer to see what his role looks like in this offense before I start playing him in my fantasy teams. Next, we've got the Texans at the Ravens. For the Texans, I think Dameon Pierce is probably the only starter. I am concerned that this is going to be one of his worst games of the season. This is going to be a very negative game script for them. They could get really blown out really early in this one, and they might have to open up the passing attack more. Obviously, though, you're not really ever looking for a scenario where the Texans are going to be in a plus matchup. I'd expect them to lose probably 12 to 14 games this season. Wouldn't expect there to be very many favorable matchups for them, so you're just going to be playing Dameon Pierce regardless of what the spread is on these games. Other than Dameon Pierce, I don't think any other Texan is really worth playing. Nico Collins could be useful in like a deeper league if you need to, but I'd prefer to wait and see how the wide receiver snaps pan out. And then Dalton Schultz is a deep league flyer at the tight end spot if you need him, but again, not super excited there. On the Ravens side of the ball, Lamar, Mark Andrews, and J.K. Dobbins are going to be lineup locks. You're playing them pretty much wherever you have them. I do expect J.K. Dobbins to have a monster week this week, so super excited about him. Zay Flowers would be the only wide receiver that I consider starting. I would prefer to see what happens with him in week 1, like with most of these rookies. However, I do think that with Odell being slightly banged up with his ankle injury, with Rashad Bateman missing a lot of time throughout the training camp, and Mark Andrews still technically being questionable for this game, you could see a really quality usage rate for Zay Flowers. So if you need to start Zay Flowers, it's not the worst start for you guys this week. Next up, we've got the Buccaneers at the Vikings. This one's pretty simple. For the Buccaneers, you're playing Rachaad White, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. I don't think anyone else is really worth a look there. On the Vikings side of the ball, you're going to be playing Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Alexander Mattison. You can start Kirk Cousins or Jordan Addison if you want to for the Vikings, although I'd pretty much prefer to not be doing that, especially with Addison. I think we could see the Vikings really ease him in. If you remember just a couple years back when Justin Jefferson was a rookie, it really took a few weeks for him to really get a stranglehold on that starting role in the offense, so we could see a similar scenario for him here. Kirk Cousins is like a low-end quarterback 1. If you need to play him, it's totally okay. You probably drafted 2 quarterbacks if you drafted Kirk Cousins, so it just depends on what your other option is, but he's going to be like a low-end quarterback 1 for you guys this week. Next up, we've got the Panthers at the Falcons. This one should be pretty easy. I'm probably only starting Miles Sanders for the Panthers in this one. If Adam Thielen sits, then you could consider starting Hayden Hurst or Jonathan Mingo. I really would just prefer to avoid everybody but Miles Sanders on the Panthers side of the ball. DJ Chark's already been declared out. It looks like Adam Thielen's probably going to play, but I wouldn't expect him to be 100%. Just going to make things really muddy. I don't think they're going to be a very effective passing offense in week 1, so I'd probably just go Miles Sanders and nobody else there. For the Falcons, I think Bijan is obviously a must-start. If you drafted him, you're playing him. He should be a top 10 running back this week. Drake London and Kyle Pitts are options for you guys, and you probably do need to start them based off of where you drafted them, although I don't expect this to be a super high-scoring game for the Falcons. I don't expect them to need to throw the ball very much, so I'm not super excited about either one of them, but like I said, where you drafted them, you probably need to start both of them this week. Next up, we've got the Cardinals at the Commanders. For the Cardinals, I think that James Conner is just like a safe low-end running back 2. You're hoping he falls in the end zone, but he should see about 20 touches in this game. He's probably the only reliable option on the Cardinals offense. Marquise Brown can be played as a wide receiver 3 if he's active, although just keep an eye on it. He's been dealing with an injury for the last couple of weeks, so it is a world that exists where he doesn't play in this one. I do think he'll suit up, and I would expect him to be pretty much himself, but it should be a really bad Cardinals offense, and there is some concern for me there. For the Commanders, I think both running backs are really just must starts this week. I do prefer Brian Robinson over Antonio Gibson in this one. I think the Commanders will get up early, and Brian Robinson should see 20 plus touches and honestly be relatively effective with them. For the receivers for the Commanders, Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson are both starts for me. I would prefer Dotson over McLaurin in this one, just given that McLaurin's just coming back from that turf toe injury. I don't know how effective he'll be, but you can start both those guys. I wouldn't start any of the tight ends in this game, and I know it's not listed here, but Sam Howell is like a deep league. Like if you're in a 14-team league and you need to start Sam Howell, you could, although I do think Commanders are going to get up early in this one and lead on their running game, so I wouldn't expect too much passing offense out of the Commanders in this one. Next up, we've got the Jaguars at the Colts. For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and Calvin Ridley are all going to be must starts for me. Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram are like low-end starting options, although I do prefer to start Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram is probably like my tight end 10 this week, a guy that I think you can play, but not anybody that I'd be expecting an extremely high-end level of production out of this week. For the Colts, Anthony Richardson's a guy that you can start if you need to, although I personally would like to wait and see what happens with him this week. The matchup's favorable, though. The Jaguars should get up early. The Colts should be a relatively fast-paced offense as well, so I think you can play Anthony Richardson if you need to. Outside of Anthony Richardson, I think Michael Pittman's really the only one you could take a look at for the Colts. I would expect Pittman to get a really significant target share in this one. It's really just Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman, and I guess Alec Pierce are the only three guys that really have any sort of relevance in this offense. Michael Pittman's like a low-end wide receiver 3. You're hoping he catches a touchdown, but he's probably going to have like 5 for 40 and be like a low-end wide receiver 3 in PPR formats, and just overall not something I'm super excited about this week, but you can play him if you need to. Next up, we've got the 49ers at the Steelers. For the 49ers, this one's pretty easy. CMC, Debo, and Ayuk should all start for you guys. If you drafted them, you're drafting them to play them, and this is not a bad matchup at all. George Kittle is pretty iffy for me. He's been dealing with an injury throughout the course of the last few weeks. It sounds like he's going to play, but I don't love the matchup for George Kittle, and I don't know how involved he'll be, so a little bit concerned there, but I think you can play him, and obviously where you drafted him, you probably need to. For the Steelers, Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson are must-starts for me. They're both in line to get a ton of work, and I expect them to be really useful this week. George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth would be the only other two that I would consider. I think they're both like low-end starting options, Pickens being like a low-end wide receiver 3, Freiermuth being like a low-end tight end 1, so both those guys can start for you guys, depending upon how deep your league is, but I wouldn't be super excited about either of those guys. And then Jalen Warren would be like a really deep league performance option, but not really looking to start him if I can avoid it. I want to see how involved he is once the regular season actually comes around. Next up, we've got the Titans at the Saints. Derrick Henry for the Titans is an obvious must-play. I think DeAndre Hopkins is like a high-end wide receiver 3 for me. Should get a lot of volume, should be the focal point of this passing attack. Treylon Burks is like a desperation flex option. I wouldn't want to play him, but if you're in a really deep league and you need to, he could always catch a big bomb touchdown or score a touchdown anywhere. It could be useful if you need him. Chigga should probably be on benches this week, although if you, again, if you're in a deeper league or you really waited on tight end, I think you could do worse than Chigga. For the Saints, Chris Olave is a must-start. I really do expect him to be a top 10 wide receiver this week. It's a really great matchup. I think the Saints are going to hit the ground running here. Jamal Williams is like a running back 2 for me this week. Honestly, if you drafted Jamal Williams and you're not playing him this week, then I don't know why you drafted him. So Jamal Williams should probably be in your starting lineups. Michael Thomas and Juwan Johnson are like low-end starting options for me. Depending upon your league size and roster, I think Michael Thomas could catch 5 or 6 passes this week, and I do like Juwan Johnson's odds at a touchdown this week. So I don't hate them all. Juwan Johnson is a guy that I picked up in one of the leagues I have Travis Kelce in, and I'm playing him there. So that's about where I view him. He's like a nice substitute there, like a fringe top 12 guy this week, but not somebody that I would be really banking on too much this week. Next up, we've got the Raiders at the Broncos. For the Raiders, I think Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams are must-starts for you guys. Jacoby Myers would be a low-end flex for you guys in PPR formats. And in non-PPR or half PPR, I wouldn't be excited about Jacoby Myers, really. I'd try and keep him on my bench for sure. For the Broncos, Russ is like a low-end quarterback 1 for me this week. I do think he's going to run the ball quite a bit. He's probably going to have to without Jerry Jeudy. I still think this offense will be able to pass the ball pretty effectively against what should be a really bad Raiders defense. I think they'll throw the ball around pretty well. I'd expect like 250 yards and 2 touchdowns for Russ to go with probably 30 yards on the ground. So an overall solid game is what I'd expect out of Russ. I think that Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine are both like low-end running back 2s. I expect them both to be very involved as pass catchers in this one. And it sounds like Javonte is going to be a full go. So really excited to see how involved he is. He's a guy that I actually would prefer P. Ryan this week, but I think it's really exciting to see what happens with Javonte, and he could be a guy that ends up being a really nice surprise for us this week. Cortland Sutton's going to be like a high-end wide receiver 3 for me. I don't expect Jerry Jeudy to suit up in this one, although he is listed as questionable at this point. I think if Jerry Jeudy starts, I still want to sit Jerry Jeudy. I still think you can play Cortland Sutton, but if Jeudy plays, it really just does make Marvin Mims a non-factor, and if Jeudy sits, then you can probably play Marvin Mims like a deep league flex play, but again, not somebody that I'd be super confident in. Next up, we've got the Eagles at the Patriots. For the Eagles, this one's pretty easy. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, they're all must starts. You're not really looking to bench any of those guys really ever. Nobody else is really a starter for me on the Eagles side of the ball. I think all their running backs are pretty much just a wait and see approach here. If you need to play one, you can play DeAndre Swift, but I'd prefer to bench all of those guys this week. For the Patriots, I'm only starting Ramondre Stevenson. There's way too much just speculation surrounding their wide receiver position. The tight ends are too murky. I don't want to play any of those guys, and Zeke would need a touchdown to pay off. So don't love any of the Patriots options other than Ramondre. If you need to play a Patriots wide receiver, Juju's probably your best bet. But like I said, I'm not super excited about him. It could be Kendrick Bourne. It could be Devonta Parker. Really don't know what we're going to see out of them, so I'd really just want to play Ramondre and no one else for the Patriots. Next, we've got the Rams at the Seahawks. For the Rams, I think Cam Akers and Tyler Higbee are really the only guys that I'd be confident starting this week. And even with them, they're going to be like low-end running back 2 and low-end tight end 1 options. So nobody that I'm super excited about there. Van Jefferson can be like a deep league flex play if you need him. But again, you probably need a big catch, a 40 or 50-yard bomb for him to really pay off. I don't think he's really he's not a true wide receiver 1. He's not a guy that's going to command targets or really beat defenses at all. Geno Smith, the Seahawks, is going to be a top 10 quarterback this week. I like his options. The Rams defense is not great at all this year. Geno can run a little bit. His receivers are all going to play, so really confident in Geno Smith this week. Kenneth Walker is going to be like a low-end running back 2 for me this week, but I would tread lightly with him. He's been dealing with a groin injury that's kept him out a lot of training camp. It sounds like he's a full go, but if he's not 100%, we could see more Charbonnet than we want, and also the Seahawks could get up early in this one. That would make Kenneth Walker maybe not as useful for the Seahawks because they might just want to see more of Charbonnet, gives that Kenneth Walker that rest. So I'd be a little bit concerned about Kenneth Walker this week. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are both starts, obviously. I think they're both like nice wide receiver 2s for you guys this week. And then JSN's probably like a low-end flex play if you need him. I would prefer to sit him this week and see what happens, but it's really encouraging to see him play in week 1 despite that wrist injury. Next up, we've got the Dolphins at the Chargers. Tua is a nice streaming option. Raheem Mostert and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are all going to be must-starts for me. Same thing like I said with Jamal Williams. If you drafted Raheem Mostert and you're not playing him this week, then I don't know why you're playing him. It's a favorable matchup, and Jeff Wilson's out, so Raheem Mostert should be like a high-end running back 2 for you guys this week. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams, along with Austin Eckler, are all must-starts for me for the Chargers. If you want to go with a different guy on the Chargers as well, I think you can play Gerald Everett at the tight end position. I wouldn't play anyone else in this game, though. I think it's a pretty consolidated tree for all these teams, and it's pretty predictable how this game's going to go in terms of which fantasy players are going to end up being useful. Next, we've got the Packers at the Bears. Aaron Jones is a must-start for me in this one. Along with him, A.J. Dillon's going to be like a low-end running back 2 if you need him, high-end running back 3. Luke Musgrave's also a guy that I'm actually confident starting. I think he's going to be like a low-end tight end 1 this week, and that's because Christian Watson has already been ruled out. Romeo Doubs is listed as questionable, so I think that makes Jaden Reed a sneaky flex play as well in deeper leagues if they both sit. If Romeo Doubs plays, I'm probably not looking to really start any Packer wide receiver. I wouldn't be really excited about either one of them, but I think that does open up a lot of opportunity for Musgrave as a guy you can stream if you need to. For the Bears, I think Justin Fields and Khalil Herbert are 2 guys that you've got to start in this one. I really like the matchup for Khalil Herbert, and Justin Fields could run all over this team and really have a 80 to 100-yard rushing performance. You probably do need to start DJ Moore based off of where you drafted him, but I don't love the matchup. Jair Alexander could be shadowing him this week, and I'm not really very confident in the Bears' passing offense as a whole regardless, so a potential shadow for him could be a little bit scary, but like I said, you probably have to play DJ Moore, and then Cole Kmet's a dart throw at the tight end position if you need one. He could score a touchdown. That's really what you're banking on, but I wouldn't expect production outside of that. Next, we've got the Cowboys at the Giants. For the Cowboys, Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb are both must-starts. Outside of them, Brandon Cooks, Dak Prescott, and Jake Ferguson are all like low-end starting options if you need them. It just depends on your league size, but Brandon Cooks is probably like a low-end wide receiver 3 for me. Dak's going to be like a low-end quarterback 1, and then Jake Ferguson is like a low-end quarterback or tight end 1, high-end tight end 2. For the Giants, Saquon Barkley and Darren Waller are the only 2 starters that I'm confident in. Please do note that Darren Waller is dealing with a hamstring injury that popped up on Friday. If he sits, I'm not starting anybody but Saquon in this one. Not like there's anybody else that I would be more confident in with Darren Waller out. So not too many options that I'm super excited about for the Giants. Daniel Jones can be like a low-end quarterback streaming option if you need it just because of that rushing ability he has. But the Cowboys defense is legit. This should be a low-scoring affair for the Giants, and I don't want to be putting too many pieces out there from that team. And finally, we've got our Monday night matchup, which is going to be the Bills at the Jets. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are both must-starts in any matchup for this team, although the Jets do have a very good passing defense. They gave up like the least points in the NFL to the wide receiver position last year, so do tread lightly a little bit with Stephon Diggs. Obviously, you're playing him, but I wouldn't be super excited about an explosive performance from him this week. James Cook, Gabe Davis, and Dalton Kincaid are all like low-end starting options if you need them. James Cook could be given enough receptions and enough work that he's going to be like a low-end running back 2. Gabe Davis and Dalton Kincaid, you both probably need a touchdown out of either one of them for them to pan out, but they're both good enough that they could make that happen. For the Jets, Garrett Wilson's like the only must-start for me. I think Dalvin Cook is likely a low-end running back 2, a guy that you're probably playing if you drafted him because you probably drafted him counting on him to be a useful asset for you early on in the season. And then Breece Hall and Allen Lazard are like low-end starting options for me. Breece Hall is a guy that I would prefer to wait and see how his usage pans out in week 1, but there's always a chance with how good of a player he is that he just comes out and dominates. Then Allen Lazard, he's a nice wide receiver 2 for them. He'll probably see 5 or 6 targets, could score a touchdown. We know Aaron Rodgers likes him in the red zone, so he's a guy that you can play as like a desperation flex if you need him. So that'll do it for this week's Start Sit video. We're doing one of these every single week, so every single Saturday morning you guys will get a breakdown of every single game. Feel free to hit me with Start Sit questions throughout the week as well. I'll try and address them throughout the week as well as in these videos. And then like I said earlier in the video, Sunday mornings we'll be doing our live stream 1 hour before the opening games kick off, so I can go over last minute news, any sort of start sit questions you guys have in the comments. I'll try and get to those as well, and it should be a lot of fun just sort of interacting with you guys right before kickoff starts. So super exciting. We've got football here. If you guys like this video and want to get more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel. It really helps just grow the community. It's been super exciting to see us go past 800 subscribers lately. Super cool seeing how much you guys care about the channel and how much we're really growing it. If you've already subscribed to the channel but you like the video, please do just give it a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm, helps you know that I'm doing a good job, and really helps make sure that more people can see this and all that. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video, and I'll hopefully catch you on the live stream tomorrow, and if not, I'll catch you at the waiver wire video that comes out on Tuesday morning. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.